What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution X Red Fury Edition. So this is going to be the vehicle that was in the recent summit, and I would say it was pretty dang intense. There was apparently over 100,000 players in this one. If I had to guess, I would say the BMW next week is probably going to be the same thing, but nonetheless though, guys, of course with some of the summit vehicles, and or at least most of them, there's really not much you can do to this vehicle, unfortunately. But to be honest, I wouldn't actually change much on it anyway. I mean, this thing is heavily customized to begin with that crazy looking body kit. I would say this is probably one of the coolest looking customized vehicles in the Crew 2. I mean, this car definitely looks awesome. And one thing I also want to show you guys, by the way, is I'm sure many people, maybe you guys might be new on the Crew 2, or maybe you might be wondering if some of these cars really are rare. So I'm going to actually show you something on the regular Mitsubishi Evolution X as well, just to show that you actually can't get that vehicle to look like this one, because I did notice that with it. I was also wondering for myself if some of these Summit cars really are that rare, and after looking at the regular Mitsubishi, I would say these cars are definitely going to be insanely rare, and most players are definitely going to want them. So moving over to the regular Mitsubishi Evolution X here, guys, you will notice first right off the bat that the car is going to be obviously insanely stock. I honestly don't really customize this thing all that much, but one thing I do want to show you guys though is the fact that you can't actually make this one look like the one from the Summit, just in case you might have been wondering if that car is going to be that rare. So for example, on the hoods here, you can't make the filter come out of the hood of this thing at all, so that's pretty awesome. Also looking at the front bumpers, you could get something like the front bumper on that vehicle, but again, it's not going to completely match the one that's on that car, so that's also pretty awesome as well. And then moving over to the front fenders, I found this to be pretty interesting. So you can get one of the front fenders to match that thing just a little bit, but you will not have the screws in this one, which I do think the one on the Red Fury does look a lot better. And then one more thing I did also want to show is going to be the back of the car. And by the way, guys, you obviously can't get the rims to be colored like that either, so that's definitely pretty awesome. And then moving over to the other thing is going to be the wings here. So checking this out, guys, there's a wing that's pretty similar to the one that's on that car, but again, you can't customize the color on this vehicle to match the Red Fury, so that car is definitely going to be unique. The other thing is going to be the exhaust as well. So you guys would notice the exhaust on the other Mitsubishi are going to be pointed downwards a little bit on this thing, and you can't do that with this vehicle either. I will also show this a little bit more going through these. So I did want to do this mainly because I'm sure many players might be wondering, are these cars going to actually be that rare? And to be honest, guys, I would say many of the Summit vehicles are going to be pretty awesome on the Crew 2. So I did show that before, but you guys will notice the Red Fury Edition is definitely going to be insanely rare in this game, and I would say this car looks awesome. Even that interior looks really sweet as well, but let's go do an outside look of this thing right now. We also have to do a top speed test to see how this car might compare to some of the better street cars. So now taking an outside look of the Red Fury Edition, you guys are probably going to notice the detail of this car pretty fast, and also those red headlights look sick on this thing, my goodness, and I would say the red accents going around the car really does make this thing look awesome. By the way, guys, you can also do a livery on the vehicle if you would like to, but to be honest, I really like how this thing looks stock, and let's take a listen. So this thing definitely does sound pretty awesome, and as I did mention before, guys, I would say one of the coolest things about it is the fact that when you see this vehicle around, you're going to know it's from a Summit, which I do think is going to make this thing very unique. But taking a look at this interior now, so obviously the dash is going to work with the RPM reader and or like the odometer, but besides that, nothing else is going to work with that, which I'm not really upset about because this thing has a lot of detail anyway. Also, guys, one thing I did want to show, one thing that's insanely rare in the game as well, is going to be red carbon fiber in the car. I think that looks awesome. You definitely do not see that on many vehicles in the game at all, and looking at the red interior in this vehicle, I would say Ubisoft absolutely killed the design of this car. But now besides all that, let's go see what the top speed of the Nissan Mitsubishi Red Fury Edition is actually going to be. So my goodness guys, the names of these cars really are long, but if I had to guess though, I would say most people are wondering how this car is going to compare to like the Countach, because I would say from looking at the leaderboards recently, that car is most likely going to be like the best overall used vehicle at the moment. And I can see why. That car is honestly really good, but to be honest guys, I really haven't used that thing all that much. I might have to test it out more because I'm sure many players, when they get these new vehicles, they're probably going to want to know immediately how they are going to compare to some of the better ones. So right now at the top speed of the Red Fury is going to be around, see, 253 miles an hour, pushing the nitrous all the way. So I would say it's probably going to be about 252, which is still going to be pretty dang fast compared to many of these street cars. I have been noticing many of the better handling ones tend to do like 230 or so. So I would say this thing is going to be pretty dang fast for the most part. It might be a little bit slower than something like the Countach and or the Superleggera, but I would still say this thing can easily compete for some of the better street cars. So jumping right into the street race test here with the Red Fury. So a few things I did want to go over with this car, guys. So for one, I did mention before this thing is going to be a 5-speed, and I would say many players are probably mixed on the transmissions in this game, at least on how they actually work and how they actually drive for that matter, but I normally do run manual, so I would say these vehicles can take some time to get used to, but luckily guys, I would say the 5 speeds are going to be a lot better than the 4s, and I do find them to be insanely fun still. They might take some time to get used to with how they actually drive, as I did mention before, but overall I would say these cars are still going to be really fun. I have been noticing though some of the better cars in most of the classes tend to not be 5 and or 4 speeds, so that could be definitely something to think about. Even though I have been using the GTO the Judge in the Rally Raid class recently, that is a 4 speed, and my goodness that car's been insanely impressive, so I might have to test out some of the 4 and 5 speeds a little bit more, but regardless, I would say the Lamborghini is probably still going to be the best street car in the game, at least at the moment. I mean, honestly guys, the Countach is going to be insanely good. If you guys have been looking at the leaderboards recently, I'm sure that's probably the only car you've probably seen in most of the leaderboards. I mean, the Lamborghini is going to be that good, and I would even say the Superleggera is going to be basically right behind it, closely in second and or tied in first with the best street cars in the game. So the main reason why I wanted to mention that is I feel like a lot of players are probably not going to use some of these Summit cars over them. I would find that to be pretty unfortunate because even with that, I would say the Mitsubishi here is insanely good. I also really do like to drive this car around, and not only that though guys, you have an insanely unique looking Summit car as well. Most players will not be able to replicate this vehicle at all if they did not get it, so if you are driving around in this vehicle, you will definitely be recognized and or actually feel pretty unique, because this car really does stand out heavily. And not only that though, one thing I have been noticing is the handling of the Red Fury. I would even go as far as saying is probably going to be almost top tier. Like, this thing really does eat corners. It doesn't struggle like I thought it was going to. And what's kind of funny guys, I really haven't driven this car at all. I think I had like 10 miles on it when I actually had it, so I really never actually drove the car, and even then I would say this thing is still going to be really good. It might not be the best street car in the game, but I would say it can definitely compete, and even with the insane uniqueness it has, I would say many players are still going to love this thing. But anyway guys, let me know your thoughts about the Red Fury in the comments below, and here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.